Hello and welcome back to another video. And yeah, it's been a little while, but I'm back again. And this is because recently there was an announcement that there's going to be an announcement at some time in this fiscal year about the next Nintendo console. Now, is it going to be called Switch 2? We'll see about that. Let's just hope they don't pull a Wii U and just throw a letter on it. And then people are like, well, I wonder, is this just the Wii with a new controller? That was a disaster. Let's hope they don't do something stupid. We can call it Super Switch, but just differentiate to some aspects so everybody knows this is a new system and not the old system. But let's make sure that they keep the old system functionality in the new one. I don't think the system's going to change that much. I think it's going to be still, which kind of is leaked out at this point, the same form factor, tablet with controllers on the side, still goes into a docking station, still goes on the TV. None of that's going to change. But let's keep cartridges. And let's keep the same shape. Now, they can do what they did in the 3DS, where the shape is pretty much the same, and then you put a little notch at the top, so you can't put the new cartridges in the old system, but you can put the old system cartridges in the new one, and they work. This is going to be very important that they get this right, because the Switch install base is humongous, the amount of games on the Switch is humongous, and if you alienate all those people with a new system that does nothing from the old one, this is going to be a problem, because in their history, they didn't do backwards compatibility that often. When you had the NES, you couldn't play that on the Super Nintendo. You couldn't play Super Nintendo on the N64. You couldn't play any of those on the GameCube. The Wii was the first time you could go backwards compatible, where you could play GameCube on a Wii, and then you could play Wii on a Wii U. Obviously, that changed. They had much more backwards compatibility when it came to their handheld systems. All the Game Boys, you could play all the Game Boys going up to the Advanced. You could play even in the DS. They did that right. Let's hope they get it right again. Now, one thing that they obviously have to change is how much power the system is going to have. Now, when you think about how old the Switch really is, it's 7 years old at this point, and the chip that they used at the time was already a couple years old. So you're using technology that's at best from 2015, and it's still playing games in 2024. Now, I have noticed, even in some of their first/second party, whatever you want to call it, like Kirby and the Forgotten Lands, that's HAL Laboratories, so it's not first party, but they only make games for them. I guess that's called second party games. That game, sometimes, and you look into the distance, things are moving along kind of like choppy, they become low texture, the frame rate cuts down to like 5 for those, whatever it is in the background. It's clear that the system is having a hard time rendering stuff that far away, so in order to fix that issue, they brought the quality down for things in the background that you don't have to worry about as much. I mean, good on them for figuring that out, because that would have been terrible if it caused the whole game to slow down. That was optimization at its best. But when you have to optimize to that level, it's clear that the system's just done. Like, it has hit its limit on what it can do. But that's okay, because it's ancient. So what kind of power should we expect in the next one? Well, if you look at like what the Steam Deck can do, if you keep the resolutions low enough on a handheld device, you can pump out some serious graphics. But you have to take in consideration it's still going into a TV screen. So in that situation, you're going to have some power behind it. I don't expect it to do 4K, 60 frames per second on everything. I'm sure it's going to have some sort of 4K display where you're in the menus in 4K. Maybe you're playing something simple like snipper clips. You're single screen, things just kind of rotating. Basic 2D graphics, 4K, go for it. Everything else, if you do 1080p at 60, people are going to be very happy, and there's not going to be any problem. But when you increase all this power, you're going to have a battery that can keep up. One of my biggest complaints with the Steam Deck is if you're playing anything that has any sort of 3D anything going on, like not 3D as in VR 3D, but like High on Life was an example. That's a game that I played. The battery that I got on High on Life was maybe an hour and a half, maybe. And when you hit down to the last half an hour of your charge, all of a sudden there was like errors going on where the frame rate would drop randomly because it was trying to like preserve battery so it doesn't just die. That might have been just mine, but I was having that happen. And then I switched to games like Curse to Golf, where it's 2D, you're just playing golf, and I could do 4 to 5 hours on it. So we need the power, but we need some decent battery life, which you try to, like, you're gonna have to either make the thing a little more bulky to throw in a little more battery power, make it as chunky as like a Steam Deck, or you're gonna have to really optimize the thing. I personally don't use mine handheld ever. I think I've maybe used it 3 times that way for 3 different games. I did play a decent amount of Breath of the Wild in handheld mode when it was new, but I hate the Joy-Cons with a burning passion. I hate the Joy-Cons, so I don't play it handheld at all. So I don't have that issue, but a lot of people will have that issue because most people like to have it handheld. In fact, the Switch Lite that is handheld only, that is what that system is becoming. So you're going to have a decent battery to keep up with the power. Now, of course, this better not be digital only, because that will just, so many people will just not buy it. I won't buy it. And other than that, what could they do? Nintendo has a history of gimmicks, I guess you can say. If you look back, it was usually the controller was the gimmick. The NES was the first one that really focused on a D-pad. The SNES was started with shoulder buttons. The N64 started with thumbstick. The GameCube put 2 thumbsticks, but in their own way. Then you had the Wii, motion controllers. The Wii U was the first one with the tablet. The Joy-Cons was kind of trying to be like the first detachable. They were really gimmicky in some way. What can we have going forward that's going to be the Nintendo gimmick? Well, I'm hoping they don't screw up the controllers. Let's keep them simple, detachable. Let's not ruin that part of it. But what can we do? Well, we have an opportunity to use existing technology that kind of was popular and then dived. Those headsets that you put your phone in, and then suddenly you have a 3D, so to speak, VR experience. Nintendo could start competing with Meta. They can compete with the PlayStation VR, even though Sony pretty much is their worst enemy when it comes to that sort of stuff. They can compete if they just put out the headset. You don't have to use it, but if you want to, you could have VR switch 2 games. Put the little tablet inside here. You're holding the Joy-Con 2s, whatever you want to call them. The whole thing would be simple. You could even put sensors on the bottom of the unit so it could have the motion. There's a lot of things that they could do to open up the doors to another realm of competition. Yes, they were at least leading in the handheld tablet sort of gaming market. Now they have competition. When it comes to home consoles, they're competing against Sony and Xbox, which, depending on where you stand on that, they're in their own realm, if you ask me. It's Nintendo, and then you have Sony and Xbox fighting each other, with Xbox stabbing themselves in the leg and Sony shooting themselves in the hand. That's a mess over there. Nintendo, all you have to do is be like, hey, we also do this other thing. Oh, great, everybody's going to buy that again. You don't have to worry about that competition. You have to worry about the other competition. Your Steam Decks, your whoever else makes it. I don't follow that stuff because I have a Steam Deck and I don't care about the competition that much. And then you have the 3D headsets. You really just have Meta. They're kind of by themselves because, once again, Sony shooting themselves in the hand with the better, that is better, I can tell you that much, PSVR 2, because of how high quality it is and how many first-party, big names you can throw at it. And you have Apple making some nonsense $3,500 thing. So, it's really easy if they throw that in there. Are they going to do that? Probably not. But it's just a thought. So what do you think? Let me know, and I'll see you next time.